The rivalry is back on.
Welcome back to the Cody Felger podcast. It's good to be back after a small hiatus. I'm your host, Cody Felger, and Derek's here with me. Derek, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about you, Cody?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good because Colts play primetime football, and that's exciting. The Colts travel to Arrowhead on Sunday night, play Sunday night football, 8:20 kickoff. There's definitely, I would say this is the game the Colts are probably the least favored in out of any game this year because they're 2-2. Obviously, that ugly loss, like we talked about last week, at the hands of the Raiders, also AFC West team. So the Colts stay here at 2-2, and they're playing arguably the most talented team in the league, and definitely in the AFC. I mean, you could argue the Patriots, but the 4-0 Kansas City Chiefs, with we all know Patrick Mahomes and company coming to. Are definitely going to bring a lot of juice on offense, especially. And so this is kind of our preview podcast of that game. And I know, as we saw last week, Derek, anything can happen in the NFL. So I never want to say the Colts don't have a chance to win because we never thought the Raiders would have a chance to win last week. And we saw what happened. So with that, we can go over a few different info, kind of priming our listeners a little bit on this game. So right now the spread is 11 points, which is a wide margin. I believe last week was 6.5. The Raiders game, the Colts were favored 6.5, and we saw what happened. The Raiders won by a touchdown, and so you just never know in this league what's going to happen. But with that, right now, as I mentioned, Colts 2-2, Kansas City 4-0. The Colts versus the spread is interesting. They're 2-1, so their one loss being last week. I guess it was last week then with the spread. And then Kansas City 3-1 versus the spread, but overall 4-0. The record outdoors is interesting. The Colts are 1-1. Obviously, that first game against the against the Chargers, I should say, they fell in overtime, but they were competitive in that game. They've really been competitive in every single game. And Kansas City 3-0 at home, 3-0 outdoor, 1-0 at home. And Kansas City, obviously 4-0, riding a 4-game win streak. And so there's a lot here. We can look at some league rankings really fast. So the Colts are 11th right now in points per game with 23.5. Kansas City is second in the league with 33.8 points per game, which is absolutely insane. Points per game allowed. This is actually a little bit closer. The Colts are 24th right now, allowing 25.5 points, which is putrid. Kansas City 18th, allowing 23.5. So a battle of some pretty good offenses and not so good defenses. The Colts obviously 7th in rushing yards, Kansas City 19th. Kansas City, the top-ranked team, passing yards per game. It's crazy, 377.5 yards passing per game. And the Colts right now obviously are not doing very well in that department as far as defending the pass goes. Kansas City second in yards per game. And so, I think it's definitely going to be, Derek, a tale of the offenses, at least as far as stats are concerned, because both teams really that's been their bread and butter this year. It's really been on offense and not on defense, especially Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes and company. They've really, really brought it. They brought it last year. They bring it again this year. And this is a rematch, Derek, albeit not Andrew Luck as a starting quarterback, but this is a rematch of that AFC divisional round last year where Kansas City basically tore up this Colts defense. And so it's going to be an interesting game to watch. Obviously, we saw last week the Colts offense didn't really look that potent against the Raiders defense, but overall they've been a pretty solid unit all year. They can throw the ball when they need to. They can normally run the ball when they need to, although last week they were not able to really run the ball, which was really weird. And so all that to say, this is kind of a game where it's like there's going to be a lot of factors in seeing what the final score is going to be. The Colts have to improve a lot of things in order to really be competitive in this game and maybe even pull off an upset win. Derek, what are some of the things that you have noticed from the Colts' first 4 weeks that they need to improve on if we want to give this Kansas City squad a battle to the end?
Well, the first thing I would probably have to say is consistency. It's got to be the big thing over the span of the last few weeks. The Colts running game has been getting worse and worse since the beginning of the season. That can't continue if we want to continue to beat teams, especially if we want to beat the Chiefs. We have to be able to run the football. Problem with that is Marlon Mack was also listed today as a did not participate on the Thursday as well as Wednesday as well with an ankle injury. That will be something to look at come tomorrow. But it's going to be it's going to really suck if Marlon Mack isn't going to get to play because we obviously know what Marlon can bring when he's on his A game. And I mean, other than consistency, I really don't see a whole lot else that the Colts need to do other than they just need to execute the game plan. That's pretty much it. And I have faith that Frank Reich's going to continue to keep putting them in good spots and Jacoby's going to continue to progress. We just need to get consistent and not go on long stretches where we don't score. And defensive wise, we just got to get better at everything. You know, as I wish it was that simple, you know, to be able, I know it's easy to say that, but obviously there's been a lot more that they need to address. We have Eberflus going out saying how, you know, the defense, every single aspect of the defense is not helping itself and not helping each other. That's why the scheme's not working. You know, I don't know how much of the blame goes on everybody. I mean, obviously Eberflus, I don't know. I haven't had enough sample size yet to really say that Eberflus's scheme and system is not working. It's just, again, like I mentioned, nobody on defense is really making a mark. I mean, Pierre Desir and Kenny Moore really haven't done much yet this year. Rocky Ya-Sin's been a bigger storyline than any of them. The defensive line has still not gotten pressure. The great thing about this week is we are almost positive that Darius Leonard is going to be back this week, which definitely helps the linebacker core more than anything. And that definitely helps to have that vocal leader out there on the field in Darius Leonard. I think he just amplifies everybody else's play just with his attitude and his play. So that'll be good for us. But I think the big thing is consistency on offense and just the entire defense stepping up at this point, because there really hasn't been much on defense that we have done to be optimistic about yet. Just need to continue to get better every day.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, there's a couple things on both sides of the ball that I'll look at. I'll start on the offense. Like you mentioned, consistency in the running game. The Colts, after I believe they were first or second in the league after the first couple of weeks of the season, and now they're all the way down to seventh in the league. So they just need to be consistent in running the football. And we even saw that in the Chargers game. Like the first half was just ugly running the ball. And then obviously Marlon Mack went crazy in the second half. So just consistency in the running game. I think if Marlon Mack's not able to go, I mean, we saw him in week 3, he didn't practice until Friday and then he was playing. So if he's not able to go though, I look at guy like Jordan Wilkins, Jonathan Williams, those guys need to step it up. And those guys need to really make an impact, and they need to, I'm not looking for, we all know what Jordan Wilkins is at this point. Doesn't have the explosion to Marlon Mack, but I mean, when he's gotten the ball in his hands, he's been effective. And so it'll be interesting to me to watch Jordan Wilkins if he does indeed get the start on Sunday. Can he be consistent? And doesn't have to break those 70, 80-yard runs, right? He's not the type of back he is, but can he be consistently getting 4 or 5 yards a clip? Or maybe even 3 to 4. Like, can he just be consistently running the ball? Can the Colts establish a run game? Can it be a threat? I mean, because we saw last year when Marlon Mack was out the first couple of weeks, the Colts running game was absolutely putrid. And Jordan Wilkins got the start. I know he was a rookie. I know he's probably improved his game in a lot of areas. But I'm just looking there, without Marlon Mack, can you run the ball? Can you have that threat so it helps the passing game out? And another thing with the passing game is the young wide receivers. Right now, they have just, I've actually been pretty disappointed in Deon Cain, who's a guy we've been high on. He's just done nothing. He really, and he had 4 or 5 targets last week, had no catches. Paris Campbell, obviously, I believe he had that abdominal injury. Yeah, it's an abdominal. So he may not be playing. And so I'm looking for but the good news is T.Y. Hilton was practicing today with that quad injury. He was limited. So he may be playing on Sunday. Not 100% sure if he's going to play, but if he doesn't play, especially these young wide receivers, they got to step up. They got to make plays. Even some of the tight ends, and I'm looking specifically at Eric Ebron. He's got to get out of his own head, man. He's got to get out of his own head. Last week was absolutely putrid. Like, he looked like he belonged in the CFL with those drops. Like, no, and that might have been generous, but those guys need to step it up. They need to make life easier for their quarterback, and even the offensive line last week I didn't think was particularly that great. I mean, I know Jacoby Brissett didn't get sacked, but the running game was awful. Really never got into a rhythm, and I felt like they were really kind of beat at the point of attack, which was surprising considering, Oakland has a pretty decent front, but it's like I felt like it was nothing that the offensive line couldn't handle. It's just very undisciplined on the offensive line. And just everywhere, really. It was a lot of undisciplined, self-inflicted penalties like we talked about last week, self-inflicted injuries, and somehow the Colts were still able to be in that game until the end.
Yeah.
But, I look at that and I'm just like, that has to clean up. I mean, before that Raiders game, I think the Colts were the least penalized team in the league. And, I don't even know how many I didn't watch the game, so that's why I didn't really do the recap. I guess I watched a little bit at the beginning. I was at B-Dubs and we lost a little bit of power. But, I mean, I watched like a little bit of it and I was just like, this is awful. Like, they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
They're throwing discipline.
Way too many false starts and holdings in the first half.
And just not establishing a running game, which is surprising because that's been the Colts' bread and butter the entire season so far.
And so nothing
consistency. Go
nothing.
ahead.
Nothing bigger of a motivation than getting punched in the mouth, getting knocked down, and wanting to prove all the naysayers wrong. There's nothing bigger of a motivation than that. I mean, the Colts are at rock bottom right now. The only direction they can go right now is up. I don't even care about the standings. Right now, in the public eye, the Colts are at the bottom. They're one of the best teams record-wise in the NFL. They're midway, but right now everyone's looking at them as if they're one of the worst teams in the NFL just because of that. So you get put down there. Now you get the chance to put yourself back up. Even if the Colts don't win this game against the Chiefs, if they make it a game, if they make it close, then that's going to put some people saying, oh, well, maybe, the Colts aren't as terrible as what we originally thought of them over one game.
Yeah, and this team thrived last year on that whole underdog mentality of being ranked dead last in the league in the league standings when it started, being last in the polls, and they really thrived on that last year, and they really played up that underdog role a lot. And so I think they like that. They like being in that place, and I think they'll do it again. And I think this game is going to be more competitive. Again, I could be completely wrong. I thought they would smoke the Raiders, but we saw what happened there. But I think Frank Reich I don't know. Like, I just feel like Frank Reich would not allow his team, and this team won't allow this team to go 2 weeks of embarrassment. Like, I don't know if they're necessarily going to win because, let's be real, Kansas City is a dang good football team. But, saying that, I can't see Frank Reich and this team going 2 weeks in a row of pretty much being embarrassed. And I mean, last week was probably one of the worst losses in the Frank Reich era. I know that Jets game was pretty rough last year, but I mean, you were at home last week and you got embarrassed by the Raiders. Like, I just can't see them doing that. So those are a few of mine on offense. Like I just was talking about, a few of my keys on offense. On defense, I mean, you already kind of touched on it, Derek. Like, I almost said a bad word there. What the heck happened?
We're trying to be child friendly here, okay, Cody? Come on, you know this.
I mean, I work at a church. I better watch myself. No, but all joking aside,
that's how you know it's bad when a guy that works at a church is about ready to drop the F-bomb there.
I don't say it usually. But yeah, it was a rough game last week. But
you should have seen me going around my parents' house when that second the first touchdown didn't irk me. The one that really grinded my gears was that second touchdown on that double reverse, and they got completely destroyed off that. I was like, how did you not see that coming? I saw that coming the moment they handed that reverse off. I mean, I was so mad. I was so mad.
Right. I was kind of like wondering, I was like, I wonder if Matt Eberflus is just about to like put on a helmet and be like, guys, this is how you form tackle, because literally no one was form tackling last week. It seemed like it was like, oh, arm tackle. And I'm like, you guys have learned, right? That's not how you tackle NFL players. It's not how you tackle at all. You learn this in Pee Wee, how to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just like, oh my word. Like I was just sitting there. I was just like, what is happening? I feel like this is like a 7-on-7 almost, where the defense is at a disadvantage. Like that's how it felt. It was like, what is going on? But anyways, enough of that. I mean, I feel like Colts fans have experienced enough pain this week. So we'll move on from that. Go to my keys for defense here. So like you mentioned, Derek, there's been absolutely no pass rush at all. And that's really surprising to me a little bit. I mean, I think the Colts played a lot less competition last year. And, I've seen a lot of regression from guys like Marcus Hunt. Like, what the heck happened to Marcus Hunt? He's just like been absent. He got benched last week for Grover Stewart. And so, I mean, you just sign this guy to an extension and he's like not good at all.
Yeah.
And, a question that I have is like, and, it's still early, so, it could be proved wrong, but I'm like, what's the point of drafting all these defensive linemen in the second round if you're not going to give them snaps? Like, that's my question.
That was one of the biggest questions is, I mean, Zach Hicks pretty much mentioned it a bunch of times this last week too. Like, why did Teray not get snaps? We weren't getting pressure with Houston. Houston wasn't getting anything. So far this year, Houston's been a non-factor in my eyes. He has not done anything for me. And I mean, Teray has been our best edge rusher. And obviously Jabal Sheard will most likely be back again this week. He's didn't practice this week because of he didn't practice today because of rest, but he's going to play again. And obviously he had a few times where he made a good edge rush to stop the run on the outside.
Yeah.
He was setting that edge pretty well on his side, but they were attacking the opposite side because the other side wasn't doing it. And whoever they put there, Teray wasn't in there. And I don't understand. I don't understand it. Teray's been your best pass rusher other than Danico Autry. So why is it he's not getting snaps?
Yeah.
I don't understand either.
It is a little bit head scratching to me. And I know Tyquan Lewis is hurt too, but like, I'm like, I don't know. It's just to this point, I'm just like, why don't you give those young pass rushers more of a chance? Like
you have nothing else to lose. You have nothing else to lose.
Though. I get it in a sense because Kemoko Turay is not a good run defender, but I mean, has any of the other defensive ends really been that good?
Exactly. Has anyone else other than that? I mean, Jabal Sheard's been the best defensive run blocker that we had, and he played one game. I mean, we haven't been able to stop the run all season, and Jabal Sheard finally comes in, is able to set his edge, but nobody else does. That's the issue we're facing.
Right, and that is the issue, and it's just like, at this point, I don't know, like, I'm just like, what do you have to lose? Just give these young guys some run at this point. I mean, I know that the season's still early, so we might be overreacting a little bit. But no, it is kind of maddening to see, like, you have these guys that you really have drafted because of this talent. Well, I mean, live reps are the best way that they're going to grow. And so, but I do wonder, if Kemoko Turay, if the neck's still potentially a slight issue and they just want to ease him back into it. But I do agree. Him and Banogu, I think, need to see more snaps, especially if you're not getting to the quarterback. I mean, I think the last couple of weeks, the Colts have not sacked the quarterback once. And so,
they did sack him. They did sack Carr once that game, just
it
once.
Was like forced out of bounds. So it's like,
it wasn't much of a sack, but either way, one sack against an offensive line that was missing their best offensive lineman for half the game and their right guard as well. That's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Yeah, and also speaking of that, Eric Fisher, I believe he's left tackle, right? I can't remember what they had. I know they drafted him to left tackle. I can't remember if they kept him there. But he didn't practice today, so that could potentially be something to watch there with whoever lines up against him. But yeah, no, I think that you got to make some changes, and we saw the Colts do that with releasing Jihad Ward, which I think was probably needed at this point. I mean, I thought Ward had some good plays, good moments last year, but I think at this point, nobody's gotten pressure at all. And you just, I mean, really, Grover Stewart's was your biggest body there, like the only big body defensive lineman there. And so the Colts added another defensive tackle whose name right now, let me find it real fast. I know he played for the Browns and he's had some starts, had some run there. Trayvon Coley, I think that's how you say his name. Looks like he was with Cleveland last, according to his picture. So I'm waiting for the internet to load here. It never loads when you want it to work. Tell you what, man.
Right. Yeah, one person also, while you're trying to look that up, one person I do want to see more of is Muhammad. I know they like to get him involved in the games early and kind of leave it to other guys later in the game. But I don't remember. I don't remember if Muhammad was injured last week or not. But maybe I think he's still dealing with something, even though he's healthy. I
know he
think
was dealing with injury.
they need to try to get him involved in the game early too. See if he can get some kind of pressure on Mahomes. Because I mean, Muhammad always seems to get that sack early in the game. He always seems to find his way. But that's just another name I feel like we have to start utilizing more of.
Yeah, and I believe it was a neck injury he suffered in Atlanta. So he played, I believe. I don't know if he started. I actually didn't really look, but he might have started. But yeah, I agree. Al-Qadim Muhammad's been a solid player. But, I got to think, like, there's a reason that Al-Qadim Muhammad is a 6th-round pick and Kamoko Ture is a 2nd-round pick. Like, there's a reason for that. And, I know he's been solid for the Colts, but at the same time, like, do you give guys like Muhammad more of a run or guys like Houston more of a run at this point when they, Muhammad's been pretty solid, but like Houston, he's had 1 sack in 4 games. Like he hasn't really done a ton for you as far as the pass rush is concerned. And really like the run defense has not been good either. So it's like, do you give those, do you give those guys like Kamoko Ture, Ben Banogu more of run, more snaps in order to try to generate pressure, especially on 3rd down? Like, the Colts have just got no pressure at all. It was just rough last week from what I've seen. And it just seemed like, Derek Carr was never in any danger. And so that's just something. But anyway, back to Coley. He was on the Ravens practice squad. I was right. He's a second 300+ pounder on the Colts defensive line with Grover Stewart, obviously. So let's see. He played in 2017. He actually started in 2017 for the Browns, which, 2017 for the Browns was a rough year, obviously. But he's got some starting reps. And he finished the year with 80 tackles, 11 for 20 in these 29 starts. I apologize. He has 80 tackles, 11 for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 passes defended, 2 fumble recoveries. Also, he caused a safety. He's 25 years old, so he's pretty young still. But just more big bodies in there, I think, is what the Colts need on that defensive line, especially if Marcus Hunt, he's a pretty big player, but he's tall and stuff, but he's just been not good and not effective at all. And so Colts needed to do something there. So they added that. Another thing, Derek, that I really, I think that needs to be addressed. And again, this will probably help with Darius Leonard coming back, but the linebackers and covering the tight ends, it seems like that's just been an Achilles heel of the Colts defense for so long, guarding the tight ends. And hopefully with Darius Leonard getting back, that'll improve a little bit. But you look, Austin Hooper a couple weeks ago against Atlanta had 2 touchdowns. And then Darren Waller, like you talked about, I believe he had a touchdown. I didn't watch the game, but he was torching the Colts along with Tyrell Williams and all that stuff. And so those are a couple things that I think the Colts really need to improve on. And there's more things like we've talked about. I don't think the corners have played especially great. I don't think they've played awful. I think that has to do with the pass rush as well, not getting home. And also, another thing that I wanted to mention, this goes for both sides of the ball, more on the defense because they had more starting last week, but those rookies, right? Those rookies who were starting last week, and Kari Willis, Rock Ya-Sin, and Bobby Okereke, they need to step up. I don't think they've been particularly good this season for the Colts. It's been good for them to get those starting reps, but I think they need to step it up a little bit. I know Kari Willis has played pretty well. I think he's been probably the best rookie on the Colts. But you got to see a little bit more from Ya-Sin. I know he's still young, he's still learning. But you want to see him continue to improve. Okereke, I think, has had up and downs in his first 2 starts in the NFL. So you want to see them just continue to grow, get live reps, and continue to improve. And I think it'll happen in time. But that's just something that you want to see from your young guys, just continuing to grow into the position and just learning the NFL game a little bit more. And so those are a couple of my things that I want to see from this Colts team, especially if the defense, which has been really struggling and everything. And so, so it's going to be, I feel like this game could go a few ways, Derek. It could go really, really bad. It could go, the Colts are in it till the end. They fall short, or, who knows, maybe the Colts could sneak out with a win. Right now it's not, especially with how this team played last week, it's not looking too favorable, but the NFL is unpredictable, man. So you never know.
I think we can agree that which decision our fan base is already kind of talking about. I don't how do I say this without people getting triggered?
It'll happen either way, however you say it.
All right, I'm going to say it. I'm going to just say it just so that we can go ahead. I don't see the Colts winning this game in any way, shape, or form. I don't. But what I would love to see again is the team kind of doing what we did against the Patriots last year. I know a lot of people don't recognize the game. They just see the score. They saw 42-28, right? Well, if you understand the circumstances behind it, where in midway through the second quarter, the Colts had 13 starters out with injury. 13. Now, we don't have that many now, but we obviously have Darius Leonard just coming back from a concussion. We're going to be missing both of our safeties in this game, which definitely hurts against the best passing quarterback in the league. And you're missing two of your wide receivers. You're already down an elite quarterback in Andrew Luck, with Jacoby Brissett now being the starter. I mean, this is a game that everyone is already going to be looking at. It's funny. I can't remember who said this, but I'm in a Colts group chat and somebody mentioned it. I don't know who, but I'll have to look that up at some point. Whoever says it, I think they know what I'll talk about here in a second. But they said, how kind of like we came in to that Oakland game thinking the wrong mentality, where we thought we hear all the noise. A lot of people don't understand that players hear what we say. People like to think, oh, well, the players shouldn't be focusing on what the public has to say. Of course they don't listen. Yes, they do. They hear what we say. The general public, all that stuff gets out. Everyone has a phone. Everyone has sources. Everyone has friends that tells these players what the general public is thinking. And everyone kind of has those games where they think they can go in and do this to a team that they think is not as good as them. I mean, that's just common football. And I think we came into that game with the wrong mindset. We came in there not determined to put our foot on the gas pedal and not stop. Our foot never reached the gas pedal. That's the issue here. And it started in all assets. It started all facets of the game there. Now I think with, like I mentioned earlier, getting punched in the mouth, now's the time where the team you're facing might have that same mindset. They're going to be at home. They got the best quarterback. They got an offense that is just riding the lights out of the NFL right now. And they see our injuries on defense. They go, oh, this is going to be easy, dude. Especially now that we have Tyreek Hill probably coming back for this game. This is going to be easy. That could be the opportunity to make this a game. That is where the Colts can put their money where their mouth is and show some promise and in both offense and defense. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for this to be a game. I know 11.5 is, some people are saying, oh, that's not enough. Oh, some people say, that's just about right. I think if we can catch Kansas City sleeping early, I think this can be a relatively close game for part of this, as long as we do not fall flat like we did in the first, like last week. And with T.Y. Hilton being back, certainly helps Jacoby Brissett more than anything. I certainly hope Marlon Mack's going to play. I don't know yet, but I just hope that the Colts don't take this as an easy week and just think, oh, we have no chance here. Like you mentioned, anyone has a chance in the NFL if the circumstances are right. But I mean, it's just ultimately, I don't know if we'll have the firepower to do it, but I would love to see the Colts put up some kind of fight in this game and show everyone, even though our record isn't great, we still can we can still set out and do some good things.
Yeah, for sure. And you never know. Like this could be a trap game for the Chiefs, just like the Raiders game was a trap game for the Colts.
Yep.
You mentioned like you're thinking, oh man, this team just lost to the Raiders. Like we smoke the Raiders every time. Like they're without a few of their really good players. Like this is going to be an easy game. And I mean, as we found out, unfortunately, last week, there's no easy game in the NFL. You got to go out and you got to prove it. You got to prove that you're a good team. And I think the Colts have a shot to do it, a shot to possibly upset the Chiefs. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but I think they have a chance. And I think that's all they need. If they can just really establish the running game, if Marlon Mack is able to go, even if he's not able to go, if they're just able to establish and dominate that line of scrimmage on offense, if they're able to get a little bit of pressure on Patrick Mahomes, Justin Houston returning, so maybe he's got a little more juice, a little more motivation for this game, his return to Arrowhead. And, you never know. You never know how it could go. Every week, that's what I love about the NFL. You never know from week to week what's going to happen. One team, you could look like a Super Bowl contender like the Colts have this year in a few games, and then you could look like the worst team in the NFL. It never – that's what I love about the game, man. It's just so unpredictable. And so
yes.
Who knows what's going to happen? I think the Colts will put up a better fight than I think people are giving them chances for. I think, maybe the score may not indicate it, like you mentioned with that Patriots game, but I think the Colts are going to give a better fight and hopefully gain a little bit more respect back, especially after last week's debacle. So it's going to be a good game. I'm really looking forward to it, man. Primetime game. We'll see how the Colts handle the pressure of being under the lights. And Arrowhead's a tough place to play, super loud. And seeing, man, what did they learn from that playoff loss to Kansas City? What did the offense, what did the defense learn? What did Reich and Eberflus learn from last year's game? And so it's going to be a good one, I think. I'm looking forward to it, man. I always love just watching the Colts on prime time. I feel like we don't watch it enough. Like I love that game last year, Colts versus Titans, just so people could see the team that the Colts have. Because I think with a small market team like the Colts, like they don't always get all the publicity like some of the teams do. It's just kind of an Indiana thing, I think. Like the Pacers, nobody really talks about the Pacers. The Colts were more talked about when they had Andrew Luck, I think, and Peyton Manning especially. But I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Colts, and I think that they could surprise a lot of people come Sunday. So it'll be an interesting game to watch for sure. Man, I'm probably going to just pump myself up the next couple of days by just listening to that Sunday Night Football song, man, that ringtone. I love that song so much.
Yes.
So getting myself pumped up, I'll probably be rocking a jersey. I don't know which jersey I should wear. I wish Malik Hooker was playing. I'd wear his jersey. I have my Darius Leonard jersey. I'll probably be rocking that, especially if he does play. We'll see what happens. So, but yeah, it's going to be a good game. Do you have anything else, Derek, before we wrap up this game? Any other comments, last things you want to say before we release this? Anything you want to say?
I think the only thing I can say is for those that are, trying to make this a Jacoby Brissett is bringing this team down sort of debate here, just stop. Okay. Just stop. I know Jacoby Brissett has been anything but perfect so far through these first 4 games and especially last week, but he has certainly not been the issue with this Colts team so far this year. Right. We need to continue on all facets to get better with this team. And I just hope that the coaches are up to it at this point. Yeah.
And like you think of I think there's a tendency to blame the quarterback, and then there's a tendency to blame the rookies. Like, oh, they're just young, they're just learning. And while the rookies haven't been perfect at all, I mean, I think a lot of the mistakes that you're seeing, it's kind of crazy because it's not really the rookies that are making most of the mistakes. It's some of those established players that you're like, shouldn't you be making that play? So, I know it's a tendency to blame those people when you see that, but. Yeah, let's just keep level head. Let's just be real and honest about this, and we'll see how Sunday night shakes out. So,
yep.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate your support. Love to hear your thoughts on the game and what you think the Colts need to do to potentially pull off an upset against the Chiefs. So, as always, thanks for listening, and go Colts.